Welcome to my rubble abode. I've been working on my comedy set. What do you think of my joke? Never mind that. I want to show you something. Come look over here. Shh. Don't tell the government, but this is what you think it is. It's a Resident Evil herb. I'll get my energy back in no time. Hold on a second. Someone's at the door. Is this aggression really necessary? The radio wasn't that loud. Oh, that part of that. Don't worry about it. That's not what you think it is. It's just a Resident Evil herb. But you can have some if you want some. It recovers hell. Homefront is a first-person shooter game that's very narrative-driven. It almost feels like a cross between a Telltale's title and Call of Duty. And this is a game that I loved because it is constant action. A game that is the definition of short and sweet.
Completely, mate.
It takes around 4 hours to beat, but there's absolutely zero downtime in terms of content. Something notable is happening to you or around you in every instance. It's all deliberate. I'm pretty sure the animators got paid overtime for this one. And they were definitely on crunch time, if you know what I mean. I'm not talking about that stress-induced time of work where you have to work beyond your means. I'm talking about they got fed well. And they went to lunch and had their bellies filled to the top. Oh, wow, this place looks really nice. I might have to move here. Hello, officer. I would like to move house because where I currently live, some goons came to my house and threw me down the stairs. Critics criticized the length of this game. That was their criticism. But what do you expect from critics? But I do understand why reviewers would have this issue. If you're paying full price for a game and it's just about the length of 2 movies, of course you're going to be disappointed. Especially when around that time you had games like LA Noire, Skyward Sword, Portal 2 and Elder Scrolls Skyrim. Not to forget one of my favourite games of all time, Uncharted 3, Drake's Deception. 2011 was an extremely strong year for video games. Unless you were Duke Nukem Forever. Then you were the laughing stock.
Did you think I was gone forever?
So to see them make a game that you could count all the levels on one hand if you had a few extra fingers was a bit of a shock to the system. But I have stated before that I would prefer a short game that gets the job done than a long game that overstays its welcome and its feet stink out your house. And think of it this way, Homefront is what most games would look like if they had absolutely zero filler. Reading is learning. What the hell is skints? Going back to back and playing this game just after Army of Two, it's 2 opposites in every single way. But you know what they say about opposites? That's not really true because Connie Britton's my opposite and you know how that's not worked out for me! Army of Two was all about great gameplay and a basic story. Homefront was all about captivating storytelling and basic gameplay. They understood their strengths in Homefront and they understood their strengths in Army of Two. A criticism I had about Army of Two was the cutscenes. How they wouldn't really use gameplay for any of the cutscenes. It all took place in pre-rendered FMVs. Homefront pretty much has every single cutscene taking place in gameplay. I understand why a lot of developers of the time wouldn't want to use gameplay, especially in the early stages of the Xbox 360 and PS3 era.
We've had a couple of flybys from KPA choppers. Don't think they spotted us though.
But I would prefer to see the effort of them trying to animate these characters and making it work than a lifeless pre-rendered claymation looking cutscene that doesn't really do justice to an underrated gem. Due to them using the in-game engine to tell the story for the cutscenes, in Homefront a lot of the story parts are interactive. You can't affect the outcome of the event, but sometimes having a little look around while it's happening, it gives you a false sense of interaction that you don't have when a regular pre-rendered cutscene just plays. I don't need all of that. 6 beds, a window. What's that thing there above the chest of drawers? I've never used one of those, not interested. Find me a place smaller. It's the perfect location. The game has an extremely powerful atmosphere and surroundings during the opening cutscene. So much happens you might need to reload the checkpoint just to appreciate the storytelling. That is honestly what I done. Your character doesn't get much head movement, you want to appreciate everything that's happening. It's very ambitious to see something like this, so I wanted to appreciate it. It's the subtle techniques like this they use to build the world. And the fact that I did reload the checkpoint to see all different perspectives, it proves to me that the effort they put into the game paid off because I wanted to see it all. Honestly, it felt to me like they were going to blow their load in the opening, but it doesn't stop catching your attention. This is a game where every detail matters. That was a big reason why I liked Hollow Knight. Everything was deliberate. Every single room, every single encounter, Hollow Knight was trying to build its own world, where Homefront was essentially telling an alternate reality. So it's two different things. Everything in Hollow Knight was crafted down to the pixel by a designer. Not to say that it weren't the same effort in Homefront. In Homefront, it's the characters' actions, the NPCs that are just extras in the background.
If they find you here, they'll shoot us all and throw us in a ditch. Go liberate somebody else.
This is Girlfriend Reviews.
All of these things come together for a specific reason. The game starts with your character waking up, and to the right in his peripheral vision is an American flag. In his room, there's a lot of interesting things to look at. There's nothing to really interact with, because the cutscene in the beginning sells that this is a war-torn land, and clearly you're a victim to this too. You wake up to soldiers banging on your door.
Robert Jacobs?
Against the wall!
Robert Jacobs, why are you so reluctant to serve your country in its time of need? We understand that you have lost everything, but you must take heart in what patriotism can bring you. Our glorious leader, Kim Jong-un, will teach you to unlock your country's natural resources, bringing prosperity to all. It is a gift to you. And you have forced us to examine your dedication to America's cause. Take him away!
Then they drag you out of your house and throw you down the stairs. Drag you onto a bus where you see them taking civilians hostage and executing them too. There's potentially 100 people outside and so much is happening all at the same time. This is why I had to restart the checkpoint multiple times. This told me it was going to be a high caliber game in terms of narrative. You don't see many openings like this, especially old games brave enough to do it in the gameplay, while finding a way to make it believable. Does anyone know where we're going? Because I was looking for a theoretical physicist in Black Mesa and ended up in this place. Driver, can we turn left? I'm trying to make my way to the metro system. And any of you know what year it is? I was born sometime around the war, believe it or not. Yeah, it's a pretty cool story. I'll pay attention, I'll tell you if you want to know about it. So, I was born sometime around the war. Which one do you ask? The movement to the game is a bit clunky, but a generic FPS shooter, so there's not really much to say about it. I do wish it had a slide feature. It would have made running to cover a lot more fun than it was. It felt silly to run up to a wall, then slowly crouch behind it. You'll see your partners hugging walls and peek around corners, so it felt ridiculous that you couldn't do the same. I almost felt like a child. Why are they allowed to do it but not me? The player's control might not be anything special, but the shooting is chunky and impactful. It adds to the visceral nature of this world. There's a lot of torment going on, and you'll see so many vile things that it becomes second nature to just walk past like nothing's happening, which is so inhumane when you think about it. So the fact that you and your partners are brutal to fight this brutality, it's like fighting fire with fire. And it doesn't surprise me that he's this way, considering the conditions he woke up to. Tough circumstances makes this person be this way. You know the saying, I'm only a dangerous militant man because somebody woke me up and threw me down the stairs. The player is constantly switching out on weapons because you run out of ammo so fast. You can only get more ammo if the weapon dropped by the enemy is the same as you're currently equipped with. And enemies are not consistent with their options, not one bit. It's not like resources are flourishing as you could tell. It's hard times for all the sides. And sometimes during combat, it's faster to pick up a new weapon instead of reloading the current gun you have equipped. I remember that being an old strategy in Call of Duty. It said something along the lines of switching to your sidearm is faster than reloading during the combat training level. And what's even faster than that is a melee attack with the knife. The same logic applies here. And I think this game assumes that you've done some basic training within other games to get to that point too. Which is probably why they never tried to reinvent the wheel with their gameplay. It's just standard. If this game didn't have such a cool story, it would have been called Standard Shooter. Probably see it on the App Store sometime in the future. Standard Shooter, aka Homefront Stripped. It'd have been called Homeless Front. Aim assist does help with saving ammo, but you feel a bit overpowered. Not that I care about being overpowered. This constant switching of weapons on the fly does make you appreciate the details into the sound design, how different guns make different sound, both from the shooting and when it hits a material. With that said, the sound design creates a really immersive experience. There's sound effects within the environment like dogs barking in the background, helicopters flying over your head or in the distance, and radios are turned on, giving current news, or you might hear an enemy talking.
Boone, it's Connor. We got the pilot. Don't worry about it. Just a gas station. Ought to slow him down. Revere Road is through these yards.
It's strange that people live so close to the wreckage.
Stranger still, they aren't out here helping us.
All of this fits the setting subtly, enhancing your experience into a broken down society controlled by a powerful military force who control all of what remains. Even though it's just remains. You only ever hear comfortable kids one time for a brief moment, and that's saying something that you noticed that. I know it's just a game, it's not reality, but when you compare that moment with the kids laughing to the kid crying in the intro to what happens to his parents, it's powerful stuff. The bullets hit enemies and literally paint a picture. You'll hear a squelch sound and see blood shoot out. It feels like an anime or something, or like a Quentin Tarantino movie, like it's Kill Bill or something. The OST does do a good job of guiding your energy, and the theme song from the title screen had me hyped. The part with the string instruments, when they come in, it goes harder than the Resistance. Visually, the game overall isn't much to rant about, but it does have this one thing it loves doing. It's got this trick with the lens flare it likes to use a lot, like J.J. Abrams produced this thing. Looking into the sun is really satisfying because of this. And walking through tunnels, for example, where you see lights, they glare up your character's vision and it looks realistic. And I also like the effect it does when your character's being shot. It does this thing where his blood's pumping through his body and you see all the veins and stuff in his eyes like there's pressure behind it. It's a very linear game but has a false sense of freedom, which is quite poetic considering this game is all about fighting for freedom. But the character's on a linear mission to get a job done. You do have a compass that tells you exactly where to go for each part of the mission. Every checkpoint is precisely coordinated on the compass. As always, I love linear games and I've got no problem with this. They could have taken away the compass and this would have given the game at least an extra hour gameplay time. But it would have been an unnecessary hour of running in circles looking for the next room. The game don't need that. I'm glad it's stuck with its guns. The companions are constantly dialoguing, explaining what's happening, what you're doing and who you are. They do a lot of world building within this time. Sometimes it's just small increments of information, enough to get you curious. You're thinking, what's that they're talking about? What's the wall? You get an idea of what the wall could be. You're thinking, oh, is it like Attack on Titan? Have they built a wall around me? Am I stuck in somewhere? They keep calling you pilot and you don't really get why. Well, obviously you know what a pilot is. It's a first episode of a TV show. This is a TV show, it's not reality. I knew it. This is all a simulation. That plane right there, that's not crash landed. It's planted there by studio executives.
Dinner's at 7. We're having leftovers. Hope you'll join us.
Ah, whatever, you're a paid actor. Who has something as good as leftovers for dinner? Oh, come on, you're not even trying anymore. That is Jason Statham. He's not even doing a good enough job. Look at this guy chewing the scene. He ain't even blinking. Out here like Dexter's Laboratory screwing the same bolt for 20 minutes. I've been watching you. Don't think I haven't been watching you, Statham. Your character will follow order after order without asking any questions. This might be due to the fact that he's a silent protagonist. And considering this is a video game, you are following these orders yourself. You just go along with it and do them as soon as they're said. Even the small commands they say while you're on the battlefield. They'll be like, shoot that guy with an RPG to the balcony on the right. Shoot that guy on the roof over there.
Jacobs, back here. Second floor window. We can get around to the backyard. Toss a grenade in there.
Information is only sprinkled out as you go, but you get more and more answers along the way, and while you're traveling you'll see how bad things get. You just assume your guy must know something because you especially picked for this mission, and he gets it. We know you especially picked by the government for your skills, but then we also know you're specially picked by the Resistance for your skills too. The fact that they keep calling you a pilot leads us to believe that only you can fly the thing they need you to. I kept thinking, what was it they want me to fly? Is it a plane? Do I need to fly a bunch of people away from here into safety? What's funny is it feels like all of this hassle is for an insignificant thing. It feels like all these guys are just doing is chipping away at little things here and there. But you know what they say, Many crumbles makes the cookie break, or whatever they say. You can tell how hard life is for these people from the intro and the world design. It's all very war-torn. But you get small expansions on this from the loading screens. There's small quotes about what happened at different points in time. And there are collectibles too, elaborating with snippets of the economy and the life of the people. People's homes that used to be lived in are now back alleys to pass through like it's nothing. A plane has been crash landed into the middle of the town. That is how insignificant life is here. I saw the plane's wheel a few gardens before thinking, that's really unusual, but cool. Then you see in the next back garden, a plane tail is poking out. Then as you climb into a kid's treehouse, you're looking at the kid's drawings on the wall. Then right above that, you see a full plane. It's not quite perfectly preserved, but it's almost as if God placed it there and said, here, have this for your troubles. It puts so much into perspective in this small moment. It doesn't last too long here before you're exploded and you go flying out and land like RoboCop. Everything nice always gets destroyed in this reality. Any small semblance of life is stomped out, like the final ember from a house fire, crushed beneath a giant smelly big toe. You see kids' drawings a lot in this game, and kids witness some grimy things. Their world is shattered in seconds. Oh, and obviously they don't really get why, and the kids' drawings depict this really well. Initially you look and you see the colours and you're like, oh, that's a tree and the kids are outside a house. Oh, wait, that's a man with a gun, and he looks pretty scary. The intro plays showing many different world events from an alternative reality. It's obviously fiction, but it uses a lot of real world stuff to tell its story. Now, I'm not really going to get into the actual story of this game. I do like the story a lot, but what I like more in terms of storytelling in this game is the ground level stuff, not the bigger picture of it. I like how it shows the effects that it has on the real people. I like that it's showing a resistance fighting against an evil. This is a story that we've seen with things like Star Wars. This game is effectively Star Wars using reality. The year is 2027 and the states have been attacked. The guy you play as is a pilot just trying to keep it on the down low, not get into any trouble or be drafted of any sort. But that all changes when people come knocking at his door saying he's wanted for recruitment. Who told you I was a good pilot? I don't know how to fly a plane, a helicopter, any of those sort of things. I told you I was a pirate! After a short drive, he begins talking to the guy in front of him. You see a lot of crazy things going down in the street. Many lives are being torn apart in this short drive, and we have a front row seat spectating stoically. You know there's nothing you can do, not only because you're in a predetermined cutscene, but because you've also been drafted against your will. But this glorious drive is rudely interrupted by a vehicle crashing into your bus and making you do a barrel roll. You're rescued by two people who are on the side of the resistance. You have to escape through the suburbs. You get into a few gunfights, but you eventually go into a place where it is not destroyed by war, that looks more like a peaceful town, untouched by all the madness that's happened. But eventually the military roll up and start shooting everyone. You all realise you're cornered here, and then you have this thing called Goliath which comes to your rescue. This feels really out of place for your people to have, because this is clearly military equipment. You're designated with targeting the opponents and using Goliath to destroy them. Goliath is extremely overpowered, but this is not a David versus Goliath situation. You are still David, clearly. You just have Goliath on your team. This vehicle helps turn the tides temporarily. The military end up airstriking you all, and this knocks your character out. He wakes up in a settlement, and this offers a short respite between havoc and mayhem. Here you see these people trying to rebuild some sort of civilization. They've got education, food, beds, and a community. But the same guy who rescued you at the beginning, he just wants to get on with the mission and doesn't want to waste any time. You go through the settlement to an underground tunnel, and then you learn how to destroy their sentry towers. While on the bus in the opening of the game, you saw this thing checking out the people in the line. The things like, we can't let this guy in, have you seen his shoes? You get into another gunfight and end up at a school. You make your way to a labor camp and then get betrayed by a guy there. This goes to show that resistance is futile. Well, more like the resistance is volatile. You don't know who to trust or what to trust, but the fact that this pilot doesn't run off and try to do something else must show that he understands the bigger picture. After the labor camp is one of the most impactful parts of this game. They discover that the military are being disrespectful with the dead. This sends our companion into a frenzy. Instead of us trying to stealth through this part, we have to go in guns blazing, which ends up being a successful mission. Even though Connor's actions nearly jeopardized our objective, he only cost us our upper hand. They hear a helicopter in the distance and realize they have to hide somewhere. They decide to jump in with the bodies, and your character can look around, but when he does, there's an arm over his head, and when he looks around it moves. This gives you an idea that if you move you'll be seen, so you stay as still as possible. It's really unsettling, but so impactful and powerful, and shows the degree these people are willing to go to accomplish their mission. What Connor saw there really messed him up, because the following mission has Connor using inhumane weapons on the enemy. He believes it's justified, but his lack of self-control causes it to backfire and land on you too. Connor's aggression is very useful at times, but shows that it's sometimes best to rein it in for when we need it. I love that he's willing to do what it takes. It makes him stand out from the rest. He acts fast, he's resourceful, and he puts himself in danger for his people. When this phosphorus stuff lands on you all, it's visually so powerful. You're all so desperate and you have this false sense of power here. Us three might be the most important people. We need to survive this. They do survive and eventually end up in a store. This is one of my favourite levels in here. You go through the aisles of a beatdown store battling soldiers. They finally give you a shotgun here as well. It's all close encounters, so it's a perfect weapon. After getting outside, you have to chase down a vehicle and plant a tracker on it. You barely make it with just enough time to plant it, showing that the shortcut through the store paid off, but you have to make your way back through the store, and this time it's all burning down because the phosphorus has made its way there. That was a very powerful way for them to make one building feel like two different places. It's a subtle way of them saying, when you go to a place that's okay, after you leave and come back, it's gonna be very bad for you to see this a second time. So guess where you go back to a second time? To the settlement. And guess what?
Can't wait to tell Boone we pulled it off.
I just want to take a shower.
It's move!
Oh my god! Help me! Oh god! No!
They killed them all.
No!
So this is my new garden. Wow. And what the hell is that on my porch? Is that grape juice or jelly? This looks like wine. Who's been drinking wine on my porch? This won't come out for months. And what's that smell? Is there fire? Someone's burned down my treehouse. Oh, my tree's on fire. I can't believe it. Oh, sorry. That's pretty awkward. Are you guys busy? No, never mind me. I'll deal with that later. Did you see who spilled this, by the way?
Rihanna, we have to go.
With the main guy killed in the ambush on the settlement, Connor takes charge using his initiative and decides that the mission can still go on. Using Goliath to break through the wall with C4, they make their way to a companion site of the resistance. These guys don't really hold any allegiance to anyone, just think for themselves and do what needs to be done. This makes them a useful asset but a dangerous one too. Unfortunately, they plan to turn you in and a gunfight breaks out, but you need to stay here because you need to get the helicopter they have. It's such a big settlement here, the gunfight you have at the front entrance isn't noticed by the rest of the camp. And when they do hear gunfire, they think these guys will be fine, we don't need to check on it. And here in this settlement, these guys are doing some low down stuff, but our guys have to turn a blind eye and act like they've not seen anything. These guys are so low down, them doing bad stuff to the enemies is making the resistance upset.
God damn.
Feet, Cam, then you can stop. Hey, you guys, come check this out.
Hold your horses, we're coming.
Hey, what you guys doing?
We got this digging his own grave.
Okay, so who's gonna shoot him? Maybe we don't shoot him. Maybe we bury him alive instead.
Did I tell you to keep it?
What on earth? Like I said, these guys have lost it.
But after stealing that helicopter, you use it to follow the convoy of resources that you planted the tracker on earlier. You go close to the tankers and someone jumps out of the helicopter and hijacks it. You escort them to safety and use the resources here to fuel your side for the fight. Now is the final big fight to the game. You all get in helicopters and start flying towards a bridge. But the military have a lot of equipment and people to fight back. You all make your way through to the bridge still. I like that on your way there, it starts playing a copywritten song, like it's Saints Row or something.
Hope y'all don't mind a little music.
Boom time, baby. Trick or treat. Looks like a party come on. I got places to go and people to meet. I'm gonna bring it to them. I'm gonna show them what time it is.
It's funny though because Saints Row came out the same year and that final mission has a great soundtrack going along with it. The surviving members of your team climb up onto the bridge and battle their way across, destroying sentry guns as they go along, and eventually getting into a Humvee and fighting their Goliath on the bridge. This thing is resilient as all hell, and it's somewhat poetic when you see this battle in comparison to the start of the game. Beforehand, a vehicle like this was our first line of defense, and it felt like we were throwing a pebble at a bulldozer. But now the tide has turned, and this thing is their last line of defense. It's a great final battle. The final cutscene plays, which shows Connor, the guy who rescued you at the start. He sacrifices himself so they can see where to drop an airstrike. A news anchor speaks afterwards saying, "This action might have been the turning point for the war." He mentions how a small resistance helped the military, and this changed things, maybe giving them the advantage. It shows how we were small fry, but none of this was in vain. And Connor knew this better than anyone else. It was hard to see exactly what he saw because we felt so out of the loop a lot of the time. It was a great focused strategy. It's somewhat like Star Wars, you could say. There's a game that I played on the GameCube called Freedom Fighters, and I was reminded of that game when playing this. That's probably why I like this game a lot. It's a story about an underdog rising up and fighting against a Goliath. I think it's one of those games that it's good to go into it knowing it's a short experience, and you potentially might not be going in it for the story in terms of the full story, but you're more going into it for the human spirit and fight these people have. The team has many different personalities, but they all fight together for the same goal. It's a game that I feel deserves more credit than it got. I don't know if I can consider this under the radar because I'm sure this game's well known, but it was always one of my favourite games on the Xbox 360. If you want a game that's the yin and yang of Army of Two, you gotta try out Homefront. But if you do want a game that's perfect in every way, I recommend checking out Metroid Other M. I've decided I'll go and find my own settlement. I heard there's one a few miles down the road. I shouldn't have to walk for too long. I was walking all day, it's nighttime now, that was crazy. But there's some good residents apparently. Is that Bear Grylls who lives here? And Eminem. There's gonna be good music and good food. I heard his snakeskin cocktail is delicious.